Good evening and welcome to DMs with PM for another Tuesday. It's your interactive, dynamic program where we feature Grenada's Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell. We want to say welcome to all our listeners on the various radio stations and the various streams, YouTube, Facebook, and also GIS today. We want to make sure that we highlight you. Our radio stations, Power FM, Star FM, We FM, GBN, Fusion FM, and Vibes FM. To all who's here, thank you again, and let's get on straight into it. Prime Minister, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening to all of the viewers and listeners to the program.
Prime Minister, it has been a tough week. I know you did make that trip off to Jamaica. Familiar but not pleasant view. Last year we were in a similar position. Speak to us about that experience.
Yes, so a couple of the Prime Ministers from CARICOM, myself, Prime Minister Mia Motley, President Irfan Ali, and Prime Minister Gaston Brown visited Jamaica yesterday, just for the day, to show solidarity and support to the government and the people of Jamaica coming out of the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. We literally went to the area described as Ground Zero, which is the area in East Westmoreland where the eye of the hurricane went over Jamaica. We witnessed firsthand the devastation and the sheer scale of the devastation. The Prime Minister indicated that approximately 900,000 Jamaicans are displaced as a result of Hurricane Melissa. So it is Carriacou and PT Martinique all over again, but on a much, much larger scale. And it's mainly 5 parishes that have faced the brunt of the intense destruction. So we wanted to see firsthand what the scale of the damage was and to get a better understanding of what assistance we in CARICOM can provide to our brothers and sisters in Jamaica and how we can help to continue lobbying the international community to provide support to our brothers and sisters in Jamaica. It's going to be a long and difficult climb. We experienced it ourselves. No electricity, no water, no housing, but the spirit of the Jamaicans are resilient despite the tragedy. We found the general mood of the population in the affected areas to be upbeat and spirited. And so that certainly buoyed us in terms of at least recognizing that they were down but not out. And it's really our responsibility to appreciate that in the region we are all in this together. And so whenever there's an opportunity for us to support each other, we have to do so. We received significant support from the region last year after our own experience with the hurricane. And so it's important for us to show solidarity and support with our brothers and sisters in Jamaica.
I'm sure that we as a nation, we are waiting to get the list from NAGMA.
Yes, well, I think it's even without the list, it's sort of the usual things. But I think capacity-wise, particularly getting workers who can help with restoration of things like electricity and equipment to help that effort will be significant because we think once, and you, as I said, it's not Carriacou, it's much, much larger. So you're talking about miles and miles of villages with no electricity. But Montego Bay, when we were there, we were already seeing the crews out. They're restoring power as fast as they can. Obviously, the tourism industry in the Montego Bay area is shut down as a result. All of the hotels were evacuated and the hotels sustained damage. But I think the government is seeking to try and, as much as possible, focus on areas where commerce can return so that people can get a livelihood, people can get jobs, and that could obviously help spur economic activity to help spur the rebuilding. So the government is going to make a cash contribution of $500,000 to the government and people of Jamaica, and then we will work with our regional partners to see how we can support initiatives like getting electricity crews back on the island, or persons who have expertise in things like water. Construction obviously is going to be a major issue. Housing is the big challenge, without doubt, for the Jamaican people, and that will take some time. But in the meantime, people have to be in shelters or temporary accommodation, and that is still going to be a significant challenge because obviously it's some of the more rural areas that were impacted.
All right. Prime Minister, I know oftentimes people think that the leaders it's just the people on the ground that are affected. You, and I want to put you on the spot here, you would have seen it last year as a Prime Minister here. You have seen it now in another country. Those things, I know they affect you mentally. How do you cope? And when you see them, because you still have to move forward and continue to do what you do.
It's not easy. I mean, it's like Armageddon. It's when you see the scale of the destruction, you understand why someone who goes through it could be shell-shocked. You understand why it could become depressing. You understand why you could have a sense of hopelessness. And in that moment, it's not difficult to understand why, in the immediate aftermath of a Category 5 hurricane, even if you survived it, when you wake up and you see no house, no clothing, no mattress, no food, no shelter, no water, at night darkness, then probably mosquitoes, heat in the day, it's easy to become hopeless. But I think we went through that, and we saw that over time, day by day, you can pick yourself up. You can start with just simple things like the cleanup, the removal of the debris, making sure that people have food, that they have water, that there's still a sense of community. And you see also that people rally to your aid and to your support. Within the region, we got the benefit of tremendous support from our brothers and sisters in the region, and so that helped to keep me going. And in a sense, when you also sort of, for example, in Grenada, the tremendous response from our volunteers who went to help clean up St. Patrick and to help clean up in Carriacou, that also gave the inspiration to know that all is not lost, and that in tough times, in times of crises, the spirit of people, the best in humanity is brought out. And it's similar in the case of Jamaica. The fact that it's not just the Prime Ministers who went. In our case, we had our Director of NADMA accompanying us. We had, in the case of Guyana, members from the Barbados and Guyana Defence Force accompanying us to help. And even right then and there on the spot, President Ali offered to send his Corps of Engineers from the Guyana Defence Force to help with things like housing almost immediately. So you see that it brings out the best in humanity. You see what the regional solidarity does. And so in that sense, you have no choice but to keep going, because you recognize this too shall pass. Human beings are meant to be resilient, but it's not easy. And I think for leaders, part of it is making sure that you don't overstretch yourself. You don't overcommit. You don't try to be a superhero. And when you're tired, you rest. When you need to sleep, you sleep as everyone else. When you need to stay hydrated, you stay hydrated, because you have to be resilient yourself in order to be able to lead.
Okay, great response. Great response. On that comment there on the superhero, if you just had that opportunity, because I'm sure you look at it from time to time with your children, you have that superpower, you had an opportunity to become a superhero. Which one would you choose to be?
I don't see the same. I don't know. My superheroes are human beings. It's not a comic or animation characters. I mean, it's entertaining, but I think in terms of superheroes, I think, for me, parents, mothers in particular are superheroes. They're the ones who, for the most part, raise our children. Politically, I would say people like Nelson Mandela, who, having gone through what he went through, 27 years of imprisonment, in South Africa, came out, forgave his imprisoners, the persons who imprisoned him, and then sought to unify the country. I think the almost natural, instinctive thing to have done would have been to jail all of the persons who tried to jail you, to probably say kill all of them and run white South Africans from out of South Africa. And to the contrary, he emphasized unity, emphasized that it was a rainbow nation. So it's people like that, I think, who have really done a lot to make humanity better. So those are the sort of superheroes that I really focus on. The cartoon characters are mostly for entertainment. I think my son likes Spider-Man a lot, so maybe I'll probably take his cue and support Spider-Man.
All right. That works. That works. Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister. We're going to take a quick break now. When we get back, we will start off with some of your DMs.
It's like the water pure and clean. It's a comfort anytime you need it. It's for everybody, fresh and green. You can count on us, there's nothing like it. It's homegrown. It's island pure. It's homegrown.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, thank you so much for being here. I want to recognize some of our Jamaicans that are on the live. We want to just remind you that you do have our support. We stand with you as your Caribbean brothers and sisters, but just general Caribbean people. We stand with you, and we are waiting, as our Prime Minister said earlier when he visited yesterday. We continue to support, and we are here. We are not going anywhere. We stand with all. So we are going to get now into our DMs. Yeah, our first one focuses on tourism. Where do you see Carriacou and Petit Martinique in the next few years? Can Carriacou get a major hotel? That would go a very long way. That question from Che.
Thank you, Che, for the question. Yes, we believe Carriacou can get a major hotel. In fact, prior to the hurricane, the government was in discussion with the Sandals Group to see whether we can get to the point of a hotel being built in Carriacou of significant size. In fact, they had made a deposit on land, but we've since had the hurricane, and obviously things have gotten worse because now in Jamaica, their brand has been impacted by the hurricane as well. But outside of that, we do believe that Carriacou is a spectacular place, and we certainly think there's an opportunity for a major hotel. But obviously, it has to be right sized to suit the environment in Carriacou, and we have to have the right infrastructure to support it. Right now, we don't have night landing, for example. So that has to be fixed. The length of the runway is also an issue in terms of being able to accommodate larger craft, so we have to be able to address that. And then we also have to make sure that we have the right port facilities, because once you start talking major commercial activity, then it means you're going to have a port that can support that. And then because of I think the unique and beautiful nature of Carriacou, we want to make sure that things like waste disposal and so on, as well as water supply, would be adequate if you bring on a hotel where you have hundreds of people now impacting the environment. So I certainly think the trajectory for Carriacou and Petit Martinique is for it to continue to rise. We also think, and that has been looked at as to whether or not the Marine School that we've talked about can be in Carriacou, or at least some version of it, because we think we have to honor, I think, some of the uniqueness of Carriacou, particularly the things like the marine skills and the tradition, the boat building, etc., and see how we can preserve but also commercialize it. And there are a lot of unique cultural festivals and heritage that our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and Petit Martinique have preserved. And we think and I know the Tourism Authority is doing a good job in terms of promoting and encouraging those things, from the Maroon Festival, the Shakespeare Mass. I think we have a lobster festival that is coming in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. I certainly think there's an opportunity for us to revive the sailing in Carriacou and Petit Martinique and use it as a major driver for tourism, because the advantage of the boats is that people can stay on their boats and don't have to come on land, so it lessens the ecological and environmental impact. So I certainly see Carriacou and Petit Martinique continuing to bounce back and continue to rise.
Great. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for your question. We now move on to our next question. Healthcare. We appreciate the ongoing efforts to strengthen and improve the health sector. However, there have been instances where individuals were denied access to see a doctor at a district clinic because they are not registered at that specific location. That question from Sheen's Summer.
I can't speak to the question. I'm not even sure whether you need to be registered from a district to actually get medical attention in that particular district. It's the first time I'm hearing the issue. I can certainly ask the officials at the Ministry of Health about it, but it sounds strange, I would think. I think if one gets injured, regardless of where you are, you should be able to go into a clinic. If it's an injury, or if you need some urgent medical attention, regardless of where you are living or registered, you should be able to access the nearest medical station or health center. So, but I will find that out, because it does sound strange.
Yes, that one do sound strange. All right, thank you, Prime Minister. On to our next question, transportation and road safety. Prime Minister, Grenada should establish a Department of Transportation Truck Enforcement Unit to help prevent accidents. Truck drivers should be required to conduct daily pre-trip and post-trip inspections to ensure vehicle safety. A question there from Gerald Hercules.
Thank you, Gerald, for the question. I admit that certainly the Transport Commission, which is tasked with policy and ultimately the management of the transport sector in Grenada, has to become a lot more active. We have the commission in place now. We've begun to staff it, and they've started addressing some of the challenges in terms of what are the policy initiatives we need to take to address the challenges with transport in Grenada. Trucking and truckage is one. We have a lot of heavy trucks on the road. We've got a lot of 20 and 40-foot containers being hauled up and down our roads, and it is something that we definitely need to address. So I think thank you for raising the concern, and I think it is one of the things we can take back to the Transport Commission. Some of this will be medium to long term, because we need to build out the legal and regulatory framework for those kinds of things. There may be even questions as to whether we limit the size and tonnage of trucks that could come on our roads because of the impact it is having on the rapid deterioration of the roads and the narrowness of the roads. So that is also some of the factors that have to be taken into account.
All right. I want to add to that, to Gerald's question. I made the observation that lately it's difficult to travel on that port highway. The containers block the road. It is very difficult.
No, it is. I mean, the port itself has become quite congested. It was not meant to be a container port, but containers are the mode of transportation of cargo. We are all benefiting from that because we are the ones who are getting the cargo that comes out of the container, whether it's supermarkets, whether it's furniture, whether it's clothing, whatever, that has been transported through the containers. And it is a challenge, and it's one of the issues we have to address. The port has been looking at what are the options. Those are in discussion stages, but we do recognize that the traffic and the congestion is part of the major social impact issues we have to address in the country.
Okay, great. Thank you, Prime Minister. We move on to our next question. Digital inclusion, social support. How can I gain access to the JUMP program and its benefits? From Lydia Alexander.
Thank you, Lydia. The easiest route would be to simply submit your name, if it's for your household, to the Ministry of Social and Community Development, or you can do so via one of the parliamentary offices, depending on where you are. The program is obviously targeting disadvantaged homes that do not have access to internet, and it includes a device, and the fee associated with the internet is $20. The rest of the fee for the internet package is being subsidized by the government of Grenada through the Universal Fund from the the NTRC, the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, and Flow is sponsoring the other part of it. But there is a criteria, so obviously you have to be able to fit the criteria. But certainly your name and basic information about yourself can be submitted through the Ministry of Social and Community Development, or you can submit it via parliamentary office, or alternatively at the Cabinet Office.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister. On to our next question. Disaster recovery / housing. In light of Hurricane Beryl and the CCRIF payouts' role in easing recovery costs, has the government of Grenada considered developing a proactive affordable home insurance scheme for recipients of the Build Back Better homes to safeguard against future major storms? That question from Nia Adams.
Thank you, Nia, for the question. The answer is no, but we have been, I know Minister Williams in particular through MIT, has been speaking with various insurance companies to see whether they would be prepared to insure wooden homes. Certainly in the insurance market, wooden homes are not insured, or certainly they decline to insure them. I think partly because insurance companies have done their calculations and they think the risk of fire in particular is probably too high. A lot of the built back homes are a combination of concrete and wood because the bathrooms are in concrete. I know some effort has been made by him to see whether there are opportunities for us to collaborate with the private insurance companies to see whether they will consider the coverage. I can't give a report now as to where he is with that specific initiative. It will be very difficult for the government itself. Simply, we have to be careful. The government can't do everything. The government certainly is not an insurer. And we already have the National Insurance Scheme, which we are trying to make sure remains a sustainable option for the benefits that people receive under it. And we don't want to get into areas where ideally it is for the private sector. So I think the idea is certainly something worth investigating and researching, and if we can get the financial institutions or the insurers to look at insuring, not just Build Back Better homes, but to create an environment in Grenada where as much as possible all homes are insured, then certainly that would be something that would help build resilience into the financial sector and into the housing sector. So I think medium to long term, that is a policy initiative we can try and encourage, but the government itself establishing such an insurance scheme, I think, would be highly impractical and not likely to be financially viable from a government perspective.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and also thank you, Nia, for the question. We take our final question in this segment. National development. How does your government plan to promote citizen participation in governance, ensuring that policies reflect the needs and voices of all Grenadians, including marginalized communities?
Well, thank you for the question. I think we can speak to some of the things we're already doing. We have a very direct style with our citizens. I think this program is a perfect example of it, where citizens get the opportunity to ask questions, to make suggestions, to make recommendations. And we certainly try, from a policy point of view, to act on it, whether it's to respond to initiatives or concerns, whether it's from concrete falling in the road or the road in St. Mark, Cow, Cowhill, right? That's one approach. We have our monthly town halls where, again, we engage the public directly. Outside of the national monthly town halls, certainly all of our MPs, caretakers, ministers have routine weekly constituency engagements where people come into the constituency parliamentary offices, as the case may be, ask the questions, interact, make suggestions. We have village meetings, again, where the same happens. We, from a budget point of view, there are budget consultations that take place before the budget is prepared, where the team from the Ministry of Finance goes through all of the various constituencies and allow the members of the public to come in and engage directly with them on some of the initiatives. From a legislative perspective, again, there's usually, before legislation is developed, you have significant consultations with members of the public so that we can get the feedback on the legislation as the case may be. From a youth level, we have the youth parliamentarian program, which is allowing young people the opportunity to learn parliamentary process, procedure, to learn debating. But we also think from an education point of view, there are significant opportunities for us to teach civic and national pride and ensure that young people in particular get an opportunity to understand what it means to be part of an actual country, that is a sovereign country, and how you can foster and build the type of culture and the type of future you want. So simple things like beginning to make sure we teach Grenadian history in schools and using Dr. Nicole Phillips Dow book so that Grenadians understand the history of the country, young people, why we have the type of political system we have, what does it mean to be a democracy, where it comes from. Those are part of what the formal education system must be able to do. But I think there are other things we can certainly work on developing. Creating a volunteer corps, for example, where we can encourage people to volunteer for national service, and then perhaps not just the volunteer service, but then rewarding that and recognizing that and making sure that at appropriate times, whether it's Independence or some other day, people are recognized for their volunteer service and their contributions to nation building. Identifying who our heroes are, and making sure that we can declare national heroes so that people can aspire and be inspired by persons who come before them to help grow and develop this country. So these are just samples of some of the things that I certainly think we are doing, and we can certainly continue to do and to expand, to make sure having things like the Cadet Corps and the Girls Guides and the 4-H clubs, all of these things help people to understand that there's more to life than just thinking about a career or a job, but all of it contributes towards building the country.
Great. Thank you, Prime Minister, and also thank you for the question. We will be taking another quick break here. When we come back, we will be taking the DMs from the street with Norris.
Cinnamon, one of the signature designs of Project 500. This 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home spans 1,122 square feet, crafted for sustainable and modern living. The design features efficiency in wall, windows, and roof, engineered to reduce your overall electrical consumption by minimizing heat buildup. A cooler building on those hot days. Inside, you'll find low-flow plumbing fixtures, which reduces water usage. Efficiency without sacrifices. With 3 spacious bedrooms, this design offers a retreat for all members of the family. With an open floor plan comprising of dining, living, kitchen, dedicated laundry, utility closet, water storage, solar panel, and parking for 2. And an area for outdoor home gardening. The Cinnamon balances functionality and style. At Project 500 is more than just building homes. It's about developing sustainable communities and delivering quality homes for all families.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for always being here with us. To our viewers on Facebook, I think you may notice that it is constantly dropping. You can follow us on YouTube, DMs with PM. That stream seemed to be a bit problematic today. So please follow us on the YouTube channel, DMs with PM. So let's go over now to our DMs from the street. Norris is not with us this week, but we do have the questions from the people in St. George's. So let's take in some of the questions.
I'm North Varona. I'm from Cuba, but I'm Grenadian. I work in General Hospital. My question for the Prime Minister and Minister of Health is when the process for statutorization for nursing finish, when we're getting a response for that, when we're getting our rights. Thank you.
Prime Minister?
Yes, thank you, Nurse Verona. Pleasure to meet you. The regularization process for the nurses is ongoing. I'm hoping that the process could certainly be significantly advanced before the end of the year. I've asked the Department of Public Administration and the Ministry of Health to really focus on making sure that we can give some accelerated attention to the regularization. So I'm hopeful that by the end of December we can have the process further advanced, and then the raise that will come consequent on the process of regularization can then hopefully kick in. So hopefully that can happen. What I could do is certainly undertake that the next time I'm on, I can provide a further update in terms of timelines, or to ask the Department of Public Administration to announce what the timelines are for this.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Nurse, for your question. We'll be taking another question from the street.
My name is Kevin Francis. I live in Grandlands Valley. I grew up as a little boy going to the pasture in Montu and going in the playground. And a couple of years ago, they destroyed the playground, and they said they was going to refurbish it and rebuild it for the youths in the environment. And for some reason, it's been like 6 or 7 years, and there haven't been any movements to put it back. So my question is there any plans in place to put it back for the youths and the young ones to have fun? It's a vital thing to the community for the children to go out and enjoy themselves and stuff. So that's my question.
Thank you, Kevin, for the question and for bringing the matter to my attention. I will certainly take the matter up with the Member of Parliament for South St. George, Minister Andy Williams, and the Ministry of Youth and Sport. I actually wasn't aware that the pasture was not in a functional state. So I think it is something we can certainly address.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for the question. We take another question from the street.
Good day, my name is Miracle. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I just want to know why in Cali's we do not have any water within a specific time, and then it comes back at a regular another time in the night. We have to wait late to get any water. I understand the water system, but long we had a kind of problem, Mr. Prime Minister. So if you could work on it for me, I would like that. Thank you.
Prime Minister, it's a very passionate Miracle.
Yes. Thank you, Miracle. No, we are working on it. In fact, the Southern Water program that's going on now with the laying of all of the pipes, which obviously is coming at some inconvenience to the motoring public, is in fact designed to address the water challenges in the south of the island. I caught in there Miracle saying she understands the water system, which means I think she understands that the water isn't produced in Grandlands, and that it has to be piped all the way from other parts of the country into Grandlands. We've also, NOAS has also built significant storage capacity, for example, in the Guanca area, which we believe will be able to serve residents of Guanca and Calis and those areas. So once the infrastructure is laid, we anticipate that come 2026, that the water supply to the entire south of the island should be significantly improved. So Miracle, just keep the faith, and we believe the miracle will happen for the water by 2026.
Yes, I agree. I think it will happen soon. Thank you, Miracle, and thank you, Prime Minister, for the response. We take another question from the street.
Good day, Mr. Prime Minister. My name is Shini Cummins. I'm originally from Housing Scheme. I think some issues that you can address. I think that there should be more things for youths, especially those who are unemployed, like such as myself. There are like the money, for example. I think that we can get back programs like that for males and females as well, because it's very difficult for people to go ahead and do subjects and have the financial capacity to do those stuff. So that would be very nice if you could check that out. Thank you.
Hi, Shini. Thank you for the question, and you have a beautiful smile. Yes, we recognize that youth unemployment is, in terms of sectors of the society, is always the big challenge for any country. And part of the reason is obviously that when you come out of school, you're young, you lack experience, and oftentimes you lack the skill sets that would allow you to get a job immediately, or the kind of job that will allow, or the kind of better paying jobs. So there are a couple of things that are still ongoing, which I would call legacy programs that we inherited, such as the Empower program, and the Elevator program, which are programs actually specifically geared towards targeting youth unemployment by providing young people with the mentoring, the tutoring, the skill set, and at the completion, even grant funding to start your own business. So I'm not so sure if you might have missed it, but both the Empower and Elevator programs are actually ongoing right now as we speak. But we want to be more ambitious, and we want to be more sustained in tackling the issue of making sure that our young people have the right skill sets that will allow them to become job creators, that will allow them to become entrepreneurs, and that will give them the right skill set if they are job seekers to actually seek jobs. So coming out of the budget consultation process, we are going to be launching, when the budget is read, an initiative called the Youth Economy. The idea is to actually create a statutory body that will be focused exclusively on ensuring that we can have the right policies and the right initiatives and the right programs to sustain a youth economy. So Shanique, I would say stay tuned. We certainly recognize that this is one of the challenges of the economy, particularly as it relates to young people, and we are seeking to address this in a collective, but more sustained and strategic manner, because we want to make sure, as I said, that we don't put people in a position where you train them for life, right? And then they end up with very low wages that do not allow them to be able to actually take care of themselves and to create a family and to create the type of lifestyle that they want. So part of it is making sure that we have motivated, ambitious young persons, that young people who believe in themselves, but who have the skill set and the confidence, things like financial literacy, understanding business plans, understanding solutions, because it's solutions that make money, right? How do you scale the solutions if you have one, etc. So that will be a central focus for us going forward as we create the framework for creating a youth economy.
Great. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Shanique, for your question. We go back to the street for another question.
Hi, my name is Britannia. Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister. I would just like to point out a road inside Lasages by the old juice factory. The road needs a little bit assistance. You have times when the rain is falling, we cannot come out because cannot go in and go out.
Yeah, thank you, Britannia. I'm aware of the road and the challenges, and it's one of the roads we have to look at. You know, part of the challenge with roads in Grenada is that a lot of roads are constructed as private roads, where people sell lots to people, and they actually sometimes don't even put in the road, or they put in very substandard roads. And then obviously we then have to try and help out to improve the quality of the road. So we are aware of the challenges. The area is undergoing major infrastructure work, in a sense, the surrounding area. And we believe there will be an opportunity in the coming budget cycle to see how we can address it. There's significant drainage issues as well that leads to the flooding and so on. So thank you for bringing the matter to my attention, but we'll certainly see how we can address it in the future. I can't guarantee, well, I can say for sure it will not happen before the end of the year, but we'll look to see if it's one of the roads that we can address in the 2026 budget cycle.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Now we're taking our final question from the street.
My name is Matthew Dockwell. I'm a firearms dealer. I've been that now for over 30 years. And my question to the Prime Minister is simply to do with air guns. Because many people are requesting air guns, but there seems to be a problem with the license of air guns. The Commissioner of Police told me that they're concerned because air guns have been put into the wrong category. And air guns are now considered by the police as firearms. But firearms, you need a license. And the police are saying that they're not happy with issuing licenses for air guns because of the stringent laws you have on firearms. So I have been now to the two commissioners, Mr. McKenzie and also now Mr. Connaught, and they have promised that they have sent information through to the Attorney General. I visited the Attorney General. She said she understood what I was talking about, and she thought that we were on the right path, because what they need to do is change the law so that air rifles would not be considered firearms. Now, that has been going on now for nearly the whole of this year. And I know when I visited the Attorney General, that would have been back either June or July. And I know she took some action, because when I spoke to the police, they said yes, they'd been in touch with her, but they had sent her another document. I actually spoke to the Ministry of Legal Affairs when I couldn't get any answers from anyone else. And they said it was on the Prime Minister's desk and that he was busy, because I've been trying to get an appointment to meet with the Prime Minister now for about, I would think, at least 2 months to discuss the situation, because it's affecting my business badly. and I have not been able to do so. Okay, so I just want to, if possible, meet with the Prime Minister personally to see if he can let me know what's the problem and why it should take so long to change the law. Okay, and maybe it is that you need some things about air rifles clarified.
So, yes, thank you, Mr. Doppel, for the questions. I actually will confess that I'm not familiar with the matter at all. And I wasn't aware that it's on my desk, so it's something that I will have to inquire about. I'm sensing that his ask is for the law to be amended so that what he calls air guns ought not to be considered as firearms and therefore ought not to be licensed. I will say honestly with him, I'm not so sure that I agree with that position. In my view, they ought to be licensed. Maybe what needs to happen is that if there are appropriate candidates who can qualify to receive a license air gun, that the licensing process takes place. But I don't want to say more on it, I think, until he gets the opportunity, as is requested, to air his concerns and to share his perspective, and then hopefully once that happens, it can lead to some resolution one way or the other. But now that he's raised the issue with me, I will certainly ask the Attorney General's office to brief me and the Office of the Commissioner of Police to brief me so that I could then have the meeting with him so we can see how best to resolve the matter.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for the question. I think we have one more before we wrap up this segment.
So it's just a word of encouragement to our dear Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell. In this trying time that we're living in, it's not easy to be a leader anywhere, but you know, with the people behind you, myself including, as your support, I must encourage you to remain strong, remain focused, and know that the people are with you in this trying time. And most of all, know thyself, know the Creator.
Well, thank you very much for the support and the encouragement, and I will continue to make sure that I know myself and that I know the Creator. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you to all the people who have shared their questions from the street in Grandlands. We do appreciate. We may be coming in a community close to you for the next DM, so please look out for us and have your questions ready so that when you do have that opportunity, you can share it and get your answers directly. So when we come back, we will be opening up the lines. Remember the number 423-3104. You will have that opportunity to call in live and ask your questions. We'll be back shortly.
Bay Leaf, another of Project 500's signature design. This 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms, a beauty, spans a gross area of 1,073 square feet. Built with fully insulated reinforced walls and insulated roof, Bay Leaf is crafted for comfort, efficiency, and sustainable living. The design achieves 100% efficiency in its superstructure. Inside, you'll find low-flow plumbing fixtures, large windows providing maximum ventilation, and a 25% greater efficiency than current building code requirements. Spacious bedroom, an open floor plan living, kitchen, and dining area. It is true to its name, Bay Leaf brings comfort and peace the moment you walk in. At Project 500, we're more than just building homes. We're about building sustainable communities and delivering quality homes for all families.
Welcome back. It's just about time for us to get into our open line segment. You know that this is the final segment on DMs. So we do have a call online. So let's go over to the call. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you for receiving my call. This is Mr. German McKee, one of the most popular man in Grenada. Mr. PM, I know you have so much of your plate and on your plate, because I know it's not a pie in the sky, it's a pie in the plate, and you have so much to do. But I'm still saying it's 14 all the way. But my thing is, I want to know when you're going to, you know what I'm talking about, when you'll give a visit
Yes, I owe you. I owe you a visit, and I will do my best to try and see if I can have this accomplished this week.
Okay, but but what I want to say, I'm still sticking. Only one candidate. Two candidates alone. I'm gonna talk about this evening because I don't want to be long and make sure you stick in your head. We want a younger Governor General, and we want Gloria Thomas and your press secretary. She grow that she no more should be a press secretary. She needs to be a senator and have you close to. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Well,
Mr.
Mr. McKee is always advocating for the ascendancy of women in important positions. So I hope the press secretary gets a wish.
Yes.
Gets Mr. McKee's wish for her.
We support that campaign that our press secretary becomes a senator. Oh, she's sitting right here with us. We do have another caller online. Good evening, caller. Thank you for participating.
Hi, good evening, and good evening to the Prime Minister. I just wanted to know if you're going to be reinstating free barrels again this year. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually don't feel like I'm in a position to give an answer because it's not a matter that has been discussed at the cabinet level. I will simply take it as a matter that has been raised by a citizen, and I think the Ministry of Finance will probably come back with some comments. I'm not even sure if there was last year, but I will double check.
Yes.
I mean, told yes.
Yes, there was last year.
All right. So I will find it from the team at the Ministry of Finance, and if it's something that it's recommended, then I think we can see whether we would be able to accommodate it.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you so much for that caller. We do have another call online. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Prime Minister, I have a couple of questions. One is in reference to the Quarry Road. And the Quarry Road has been damaged for a long time. We have a lot of big swimming pools. The water is coming in there, and we constantly having to go through the water. Also, what is the status of the drains on the Monroe Stretch? When you come across the Monroe Stretch, the place is always full of water, and they put things to kill the mosquitoes. With the mosquitoes, they have enough mosquitoes breeding there, enough to supply the whole of their land when they fever. Also, when they put the things to kill the fish with the mosquitoes, you're killing the fishes, you're killing the crabs. The other thing is, there is one sidewalk coming down the Monroe Stretch. Could we have another sidewalk on the other side? Because people walk there every morning, and vehicles run with such a heavy racing speed there. We need a sidewalk on the other side of the Monroe Stretch, please. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
All right, thank you, caller, for the concerns that you raised. So yes, I think we accept that the Monroe Road, and when she said the other side, I think she means the back road. That is the one furthest away from the beach side. This has no sidewalks, and it's a bit, it's not straight. It could be a little windy and suffers sometimes from flooding. And so it is, there's heightened risk if someone is walking that road as opposed to the front road, which has sidewalks on either side. We are currently reviewing at the Ministry of Infrastructure plans to address road construction, repairs and rebuilding throughout certainly the extended roads in the Grand and St. George's area, and that would also include the Monroe area. The challenge with Monroe is to a large extent, it's in a low-lying, flood-prone area. You'd recognize that the drains go out into the sea, and once you have high tide, for example, it backs up quite easily. The drains in Monroe that is in boundary with the Spicing property takes water from the Grand Anse Main Road all the way down to Monroe. It also takes the water from the top Monroe, the Mount Cinnamon hillside, which also produces an enormous amount of water, and then comes down and turns into one channel, which then has to empty out into that drain. Further up at the Food Fair area, there's a drain that runs through the Radisson property that also empties out onto the beach again, and you're dealing with the tide. So part of the challenge we have now is we have an enormously built up area. Once you have a lot of concrete, it means the concrete is collecting an enormous amount of water. And these are being channeled basically in two main drains. The one that runs through Radisson and the one that runs adjacent to Spicing. And in addition to dealing with the tide, you're dealing with heavily choked up and smaller passageways that probably were simply not designed to take the volume of water that is occurring now. So the challenge here is that we need major re-engineering in order to minimize and mitigate the flooding that is taking place in Montrouge, even in places like Camahon Park and the site of what is intended to be Heroes Park, which itself has water. The other challenge we have is there are no catchment areas that allows us to catch the water and then slow down the velocity with which it empties out into the sea. And so that's why, in a sense, the entire Montrouge area is becoming the catchment area, and hence why it is flooding. So that will require major engineering for us to be able to address it, as well as perhaps temporary solutions like having pumps in place to actually pump the water out fast. So those are some of the things we are looking into. And then because the drains empty out, in a sense, on a surface level on the beach, what happens is that sand backs in when the tide is high, and so sometimes the mouth of the drain is higher than the drain itself, and so the water doesn't flow out, and it means you have to constantly be clearing that out, and that is something that is ongoing. Fogging is done routinely in the Montrouge area, especially in the rainy season. I am not an expert, so I can't speak to whether the fogging kills the fish or anything like that, but I wouldn't have thought that the Ministry of Health would be using fogging chemicals if they weren't satisfied that it was safe for the environment and would only be addressing the mosquitoes. I think she raised the issue with the quarry road and the state of it, so I think that is something to note for us to be able to address. But I want to thank the caller for raising the concerns. And as I said, there are plans. Infrastructure is not an easy thing. It requires careful engineering, and particularly with our rainfall and the unpredictability of it, we have to design and build now so that we can accommodate a lot more water in the Grandlands and Montrouge area. But it's something we are committed to addressing.
Great. Thank you, Prime Minister, and also thank you, caller, for your contribution. We have another call online. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please proceed.
Prime Minister, good afternoon.
Good evening.
My question is regarding the completion of the immigration form for Grenadians.
Yes.
So I just want some clarity on it. Is it unconstitutional or is it not? And if it is, when will the change be made to not request it? Thank you.
All right, thank you for the question. I will answer it this way. I'm aware that I think a case was brought by then Queen's Counsel Derek Knight, who I think challenged the constitutionality of whether or not immigration cards should be used, and whether if one did not fill the card out, whether one could be prohibited from entering Grenada as a Grenadian. I haven't read the case in a long time. I would say that it's unlikely that one could be prohibited from entering Grenada as a Grenadian, because as a citizen of Grenada, you're already in Grenada. But the law does allow for restrictions on where one can go on private as well as public property. So ordinarily you can't walk onto the port, for example, or you can't walk onto the airport because it's a restricted area, obviously for security reasons, for operational reasons. Your ability to go there, even if you're a citizen, is restricted. The immigration cards are really part of a broader regional international network that seeks to gather information on passengers for security reasons, and then for data collection reasons in terms of arrivals, departure, the demographics of who's moving, male, female, age groups, screening for security, and all those things. I will admit that I am not a big fan of immigration cards either. And when we got into office, I asked the immigration department, for example, whether the little piece of the ED card that you were being asked to fill when you were leaving Grenada, whether it was necessary. They said no. We discontinued it. We've been trying, and it's one of the things that I'd admit I'm a little disappointed that we haven't been able to do it faster, to have the ED cards move online. There's some pieces of hardware that we're waiting on the customs side. I hope it gets here soon, and that we can really try and roll this out hopefully by the 1st of December so that it's online. I want to get Grenada to the point where we don't use ED cards at all. But that will also require significant upgrade and investment in our border management system, and then it has to be aligned with the international border management systems and the use of biometrics and so on entering Grenada and so on. That is ultimately where I want to get us to, where we have a first-class border control management system that utilizes biometrics, that allows for easy and seamless access to and from Grenada for Grenadians and non-Grenadians. But it takes investment. It will take some time. But the idea certainly, I think, for us is that in the next 12 months, we'll be working really hard to try and push this path. We've already begun looking at vendors who may have the opportunity to provide those services for us or to partner with us, and this is part of the evaluation. We are at the early evaluation stage on those issues. So I would have to literally go back and refresh my, read the case to see whether it was definitively declared that it's unconstitutional or not. But I don't really think it is too much to ask to simply fill out the form. It's a 2-minute exercise, especially if we're moving it online, so that we get the necessary data and we can make sure that we are protecting our borders from a security point of view.
Great. Thank you, Prime Minister, and also thank you to the caller for your question. We do have another caller online. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, my Prime Minister, and how are you?
Good evening. I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good, not too bad. I have a problem with housing. Yeah? And this after burial, I got, the wind was really heavy in the St. George's area, likewise. And, it's not a wall house I'm living in. And I went to the relevant authorities, and I keep getting someone around. Please lead me to talk to you tonight. Yeah? I went to one, it says to me that we'll put all the information, leave it clean. The another one tell me, say, right now they're not dealing with housing. But the next one tell me, say, housing closed. The same one I tell me housing closed, come back and tell me again, because I keep asking the questions over and over. The housing program is for a certain amount of people right now. So I say, well, I have a natural disaster. So I would like to get a little bit of assistance, even though I don't have to get the labor. Even I get the material, I can put it into practice. Yeah, but so Mr. Prime Minister, I need a little bit of help, because when the rain falls right now, it's embarrassing to tell you that in the public, but I'm getting wet inside.
All right. So, caller, I'd ask that we take your contact details offline, so we could get some information from you, so that we can then, particularly if it is damage to the house as a result of the hurricane, so that we can have the matter addressed. So we will take the information offline from you. We have your number, and we'll call you back to get the information.
Thank you very much, and have a blessed night, and keep on the yellow going, man.
Thank you very much. Have a great night
You're
as
welcome.
well. All right.
Likewise, yeah.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, Prime Minister. We will take in another call. We have another call online. Good evening, caller. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I have a concern and a recommendation for consideration.
Sure.
I'm a bit concerned about the movement of trailer trucks and so, especially during the peak afternoon hours after 4. God forbid something were to happen. We know what it can be like. So I'm just wondering, for consideration, if we can look at possibly doing a regulation of traffic hours for container movement. That's just my concern and recommendation. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, caller.
Well, thank you for that caller. I think you're the second caller who's raised the issue of transport and traffic and trucks and trailers. It is something, there is a draft policy that is being reviewed now that was prepared by the Transport Commission. And I think we are going to explore whether there are opportunities for us to work with the persons who work in the trailer haulage and large truck sector. A lot of it will partly depend on the port, the hours of operation of the port, as well as the construction industry, because it's not just trailers. We have huge cement trucks that are plying our roads as well to support a lot of the infrastructure and construction that is taking place. But I do agree with you that there has to be some regulation of the sector. It is becoming quite clear that the manner of driving in many instances is not defensive. It is quite aggressive, and there are real risks. There are several cement trucks that have turned over as well, and there has to be greater regulation and inspection of those trucks. I know the Commissioner of Police and his team will be implemented, I think, some more stringent inspections for trucks and buses, but we obviously have to take a more comprehensive approach. So when we, I think, review the policy, part of it will be to address this as well.
Thank you, caller, and thank you, Prime Minister. That will now be our final call for this evening. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good evening, sir.
I'm calling from the diaspora. I'm calling from Toronto. There are two things I want to mention. Probably I do one just because of time. Last year, my family and we came down to Grenada for the anniversary. And first of all, I must say, I am very pleased with the transformation that you guys are doing. And you're doing a wonderful work, although I follow every day. People tell me I live in Grenada because that's what I sit and do every day. But one of the things I often wondered about a while now is the naming of streets and housing number, because many of us, in my case, I have left Grenada over 50 years, almost going into 60 years. So that's until I'm a little bit of old man. But many of us, when we go back home, sometimes we can't always remember where to find places, because the Airbnb where we stayed at in Grand Anse, even the taxi drivers couldn't find that place. We have to drive around, go to police station, drive around. Then I stayed by a friend for one night and he was taking me back to the Airbnb, and it was the same problem, and he lives in St. George's. So I think it's past time, and I'm not saying it on the NDC government, because this is something that should have been done many years ago, because when I look at things in Carriacou, it seemed to me that Carriacou has, every street has a name, as far as my observation. And I looked at something in St. Vincent the other day. I thought it would have been the same like Grenada. They also have names. I know Trinidad for a fact because I went to college in Trinidad. But what are there plans to have the streets name and the home numbered and so on? Because it's really hard. That when I reached in Grenville, and I didn't know I was in Grenville, and it was not pretending. Coming from the airport, because we came there in the night, and when I realized I was in Grenville is when I saw the wall at Victoria Park, because that's where I used to do my track and field. And so I said, oh, we're in Grenville. When the driver asked, do you know where you are? You know, and when I reached one day I took a bus from St. George's and got to the bus terminal. Again, I had to ask somebody where is Front Street, because the place has changed. Right. It's changed, after so many years. So are there plans to do something about the naming of streets in every area where you can possibly do that? That's my question.
Yes. No, thank you for the question and the observation, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. We have had a good Samaritan, Mr. Val Whiteman, who's been doing extensive street signs throughout, for example, St. David. And in most of the streets in St. David now, you'd see street signs. But there has not been a government initiative to do so. I certainly think it's one of the things, and maybe when we talk about the youth economy, will be one of the initiatives that we can certainly allow our young people to champion. It's not just the naming of streets, it's also house numbers, it's also zip or postal codes, because all of that actually drive commerce. And it's one of the challenges genuinely people have when seeking to do business with Grenada. When you just simply say, Penmotor St. David, is like, well, okay, so what's the street number? What's the house number? Those things. It actually becomes a major challenge, even for commerce. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. It is one of the things that perhaps, with the amount of issues we've had to deal with, that has perhaps slipped off the schedule. But I certainly think it is a national imperative for us to name our streets properly. Some of the names have historic meanings, and people also should understand why they carry the names. And then as much as possible to number houses and use whatever GIS information that we may have so that people can easily find buildings, homes, so that we can actually begin to modernize this issue, and so that tourists or returning nationals, as you say, don't have to drive forever or drive around in circles before you can identify a home or a building and so on. So I completely agree with you on this.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and also thank you, caller, for your question. I want to also say thank you to all our callers today. As I did indicate, this is our final question. Prime Minister, it was another interesting and interactive session. Just some parting words as we wrap up today.
Well, once again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the listeners for joining me this evening. I want to emphasize that we have a rally on Sunday at the SAS ground in Telescope. The National Democratic Congress will be holding its General Council meeting from 1 to 5 p.m. and thereafter the rally follows. October 31st made it 4 years since I became the political leader of the National Democratic Congress, so I think the time has flown by. So it's an opportunity for me and the party to account for its stewardship as a party and obviously its stewardship as a nation since the 23rd of June 2022. It's already 3 years. So we want to encourage members of the public, or supporters or well-wishers, curious onlookers, persons who've never yet been to a rally, who does not understand what it's about. This is in a sense the foundation of our democracy, an opportunity to fraternize, to meet people, to learn about politics, to learn about policy, nation building, and to come and get a chance to ask questions, see what's happening as we continue to chart the course forward for Grenada. So please come out in your numbers. We look forward to meeting and engaging with you and to continuing to work on behalf of the people of Grenada. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Again, thank you to all our viewers, all our listeners. We do appreciate you always being here with us. To the team, Neela, everyone. I don't want to miss anyone, so I'm not going to call any names this evening. I missed Blondell the last time. So to the team, the technical team, thank you as always for being here. Without the technical team, we don't have a program. To your listeners, the most important of our guests, we do appreciate you always being here with us. Remember, DMs at PM, it happens every Tuesday from 6 to 7 o'clock. You have your questions, we come to you with DMs in the street. We also have an opportunity to send your questions via the various social media platforms. So if you did not meet our camera people on the street, you can send them or you can call. Several opportunities for you to interact with the Prime Minister every Tuesday. So I am your host, Arcelyn Crosby. It was a pleasure always being here with you. DMs with PM, remember that? Your interactive platform where you have an opportunity to speak to the Prime Minister directly. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us.